Really quickly, my name is Mike Morris. I'm a structural technologist here for UAB. And one of my main jobs is training as well as checking out new technology and recommending new technology. Canvas Analytics. I'm hoping to find out more information at the CanvasCon, InstructorCon, when I go out there next week. But right now, as it is, there are three main areas of analytics and information inside of Canvas. We'll go over all three of them. So we have whole class, we have individual student, and we have some quiz statistics. So we'll start off. You're only able to view any of these areas if you are a teacher. If you're not a teacher, you can't see them. So students can't see it and designers cannot see this information. So I'm going to click into my sandbox where I'm a teacher. And the course analytics is off on the right. So if you click that, the default setting is the whole class analytics. And I don't have much information here, so I'm going to bounce back and forth between a PDF that I created so you can kind of see what a more populated graph would look like. But it defaults to the whole class analytics. It also defaults to the graph view. There's a slider in the top right. You could slide between graph view and table view. I personally like the table view better myself, but depending on your purposes, going in looking at analytics, either one may suit your needs. So the first one is activity by date. And again, this is whole class, so it looks at all of the activity in your course from all the students. It divides the information between page views and participation. Participation is when students do more than just looking at a page or kind of clicking around the calendar, clicking around in Canvas. So a student needs to load a collaboration. They need to join a web conference. They need to post a comment. They need to create a page or add to a content page if you have students, if you give the students that ability to do that. They can submit a quiz, an assignment, or they can even start a quiz, and that'll tally participation versus just viewing. So as you see in the middle here, I've got three bars that show at this period there was a lot of activity. There's a light blue bar, very tiny. That would be the actual just page views. If you hold it over the bars, you get a little bit more information, kind of telling you a little bit more what happened. So that, again, it's a little vague. In May of 2016, there were 20 participations and 851 page views. So it kind of over time, the graph will change depending on how long the course has been active. And I'll show you that in a couple seconds. But you could kind of hover around and see a little bit extra information. I'm going to switch to the PDF that I created so you can see one that's a little bit more populated.
Mike, can I interrupt you for a minute and ask a question, please?
Sure can.
Just because I want to make sure I understood. So the access to analytics is only the instructor. It is not, like, so if I have an ID person in my course with me, they cannot see any of this.
I don't believe they can. From my understanding and playing around with it, only instructors can view, or only teachers can view that the analytics.
Okay.
I have not had the opportunity to play with it as a TA or anything. So here's a graph that is in the PDF, and I sent the PDF off to Laura. I'm not sure if you guys all got it, but if you need it, let me know. I could send this out to you. So you could see that, again, the dates are a little bit different. On mine, it was broken down into years, and this one here, it's broken down into months. So the longer the course has been run, the more dates the x-axis will change. So I'm going to minimize this guy. Submissions, I don't have anything submitted. Again, mine is just a sandbox. So if I go up, again, you're going to see under submissions. This is kind of what you're going to see for submissions. You're going to see green being on-time submissions, yellow would be the late submissions, and red is going to be missing submissions. And when you hold the mouse over each of the bars, it will display a little bit more information. And this is by assignment too. So again, if you hold it over the bar, it'll tell you what the assignment is that it's given more information on. And then the grades, this is going to show it more like a box and whisker plot. So you're going to have the 25 to the 75th percentile. 75th percentile is going to be in the blue box. Then you're going to have the whiskers going out to the extremes of your data. And then you'll have a line, a black line somewhere in there showing where the median of all the data set is. As you hover over the bars, you will get a little bit more information. But again, this is entire class data. On the very bottom of the page, it breaks it down by student name. So depending on how many students you have in your class, it'll only populate 30 students at a time. You will get the forward and back arrows to cycle through more students if you have more than that 30. But you can sort by student name by clicking on the little arrow next to the student's name. You can sort by number of page views by clicking on the arrows next to the page views. Sort by participation. And you could also, I got to move my GoToMeeting bar. You could also view by the score. And then you could also see in the middle the number of on-time, late, and missing assignments. If you go to the table view at the top and just click over on that slider, and this is kind of the view I like a little bit better. It breaks it down by actual date, and you could see on 7/13 there were 62 page views and 2 actions taken. So it's not as visual, but I like how it breaks it out and you could actually see the exact dates a little bit better. And then again, it only populates so many, so you could cycle through on the bottom and click to see more information. And again, this is the same. Yep.
I've got a question. What do you mean by actions taken?
This is terrible. Yeah. If a student just actually goes in and looks at a content page, if they just look at a test, they're looking at discussions, they're not doing anything but viewing pages, that just counts, that is just going to count a page view. If they actually do something, if they actually add to a discussion, if they take a test or take a quiz, if they submit an assignment, those actions are tallied as actions. On the previous screen, they called them participation. On this screen, they call it action.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And at the very bottom of the screen, you have that same table that you had on the previous screen, so that when you slide over, it just takes the same information that was in the tables and puts it into graphs for you. So if you're looking for whole class information, this does have some good general information. If you go to any of the tables, either in the table view or the graph view, and you click on one of the students' names, and this is probably one of the features I really like. So this breaks down using the same graphs with the addition of a communication graph. It gives you that same information but on a student basis. So we have, let me switch to my test student. So for this test student, I'm breaking it out as to, and in graph format, what this one student did. So again, action, the activity by date. We have participation and page views. That table had it actually as actions taken, not participation, but it's the same thing. For communications, you're going to see that orange color is going to have a little speech bubble, and I'm going to switch over in a second to that PDF so you could see a populated graph. But you'll see any communications the student made with the teacher, and then you'll also see in that blue color when the teacher responded back. So I'm going to click over and it'll look kind of like this. And as you hover over, you will get information on what the discussion was, and it'll tell you what the time was, what the date was. So it is some valuable information. The next graph is submissions, and again I'm going to have to switch over to a different graph because it doesn't demonstrate, this one doesn't demonstrate very well what you'll see in an actual class. So green is on-time submissions, the triangle is late, and the red square is a missing missing assignment. This is discussions, this is assignments, and this is quizzes. So when I click on my PDF and scroll down, this is more what you're going to see. So the actual shape indicates when the due date was. So we could see on this one here, and it would show you more information. It would tell you the exact due date. But this assignment was late, and it was due here. This line indicates the end when they actually turned it in. So you could kind of get a visual sense of what the time was between the due date and the actual submission of that quiz or assignment. And the same for the green. The difference with the green is the line's going to be on the front. So you're going to see that they actually turned it in on this one here early, and it wasn't due till, a couple days later possibly. The circles are going to be future assignments. So if it's not yet due, that's when you're going to see a circle on it. And then the grades is going to be a box and whisker plot again. You're going to see the 25th to the 75th percentile indicated in your box, and you're going to have the whiskers going out from the top and bottom indicating that last 25 percentile to the top and bottom. You're going to have the median line showing where the median of the data is. You're also going to see a shape indicating a good score, fair score, or a poor score for each student as to what they did individually on this assignment. So the whole class will be represented by the box and whisker. The student will be represented by the shape. And this is per assignment. So if you go to this one over here, pretty tight grouping of information, and the students scored well above, or not well above, but above what the majority of the class did on this drawing assignment. Any questions on those? No?
No.
Okay. So again, you do have the graph view and the table view. So if you flip over to the table view, this one I really like because this will break down individual students' activity per day in your class. So you could see their page views as well as the actions they've taken on a daily basis. So this will give you a lot of information as to how often the students individual students are accessing your course and what are they actually doing in your course. Communication, again, it's going to break it down, and I'm going to switch to my PDF because it'll actually show you in a table view what it looks like. No, I guess I didn't put it in there. So you'll see a graph, and it'll basically have the message from the student, and it'll have the time and the date on there. And then you're going to get a table for the submissions of assignments, and this is going to be, again, quizzes, it's going to be assignments, and it's going to be discussions. It'll tell you the status of it, if it's on time, if it's missing, if it's late, when it was due, when it was submitted, and what the score was on those individual assignments. And it will only populate so many, so you may have to cycle through. It'll also break it down by grades. So same assignments as above, but it's going to break it down from what the student score was, how their performance was, and then it's going to give you some statistical information on that assignment. And that's really the main part of the analytics. There's also a quiz part. If there are no other questions on course analytics, we can move over to the quiz information, and there's actually a decent amount of information you get from the quiz. Okay, so if you go to quizzes and you click on an individual quiz, and I'm going to click on this quiz here. In the top right we have quiz statistics. So if you click on that, and again this is I'm going to switch to a different view for this one because I have a class that has a little bit more information on it. You're going to be presented with some information on it. Okay, here we go. So this one's going to have a little bit more information on it. So it's going to, you can see the little bit of data on there, time it took to take the quiz, standard deviation, the low score, the high score, and the average score. It's going to display it in a bar graph as well, so you can see. It's also going to break down the questions, so you can see how the students responded to it. So the first question, every student responded with the correct answer. You'll see the circle with the percentage over here of number of students answered correctly, as well as the breakdown of who answered what. You could also click on these. So let me do it on this one here. So we had one student for this question get it wrong, and you could actually click on this and see who got that answer. The discrimination index score is a score that looks at how accurate is this individual question, how does it correlate to student success in the class. A score of less than 0.25 is considered a poor score. A score of more than 0.25 is considered a good score. And a score with all zeros, 0.00, is because everyone either got it correct or incorrect. And you could also download the item analysis into a spreadsheet and the student analysis into a spreadsheet for further statistical analysis, however you'd want to do in like a Microsoft Excel type program. You also have the ability, so if you click on the settings gear of a specific quiz and you go down to show student quiz results, you could see that then who's actually taken the quiz, who is not taking the quiz. If you click on that specific student, I have to use my test student, you could see specifically how a student actually did on the quiz, which questions they got. This is separate from SpeedGrader. I don't know if you guys know about this one. There's this view log, which is quite handy. If you click on that, it will break down how long it took them to take the quiz, how often they were in the quiz, when they logged out of a quiz. So it's got a good bit of information. They started at this time, and you could see when they kind of cycled through your quiz. Are there any questions?
No, that's very informative.
Okay. Yeah, there's really not much to the analytics. There's a lot of information. Again, I personally like the table view. The graph view can be handy, especially if you're just kind of looking for general information and the general trend of your class. But if you have a specific student in mind, that student view, when you go in, you can really break down what students are specifically doing in your class, and that could be really nice. So I'm hoping to find more information out at the Canvas convention next week. They're supposed to have a couple sessions on analytics, and if they do, I'll definitely share more information with you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Mike, I'm not sure if Laura's on with us right now or not, but one of the things that we're looking at and talking about are different ways to use media platforms. So, for example, a video, say, from TED Talk, and I'm using it in my class, and, and I stop it halfway through, and I give the students some exercise project, question, etc. How would that show up on here, or would it?
How would, if the students actually watched it?
Yeah, well, so thinking from the perspective, so there's a 10-minute video, and halfway through there's something the student has to, like the video gets, we insert something halfway through to get the student to interact with the video. Like, how would we see that the student actually interacted with that video and did that, or would that show up, like, depending on how we put it in?
Well, yeah, you could embed questions inside of videos, and those questions can populate into your grade book. So if they're going through the quizzes and they're answering the questions, those can be checks to make sure the students are actually at least going through the videos. I believe Kaltura has that ability to insert questions.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not familiar with any way of specifically seeing if a student, went and actually watched the entire video. Canvas, at least on our end, is just going to keep track of, was a video watched and not which video was watched.
Okay. We're just, doing that whole dialogue about interactivity with videos and not just leaving it out there and the student turns it on and goes off and, makes dinner and comes back later and goes, okay, I'm done with it.
Yeah, there is, let me see if I could find, there's for a student, if you go to a student, it will give you a little bit more information about student, but it won't tell you if they've watched a whole video, but it will give you a little bit more information about what they're doing. So if you go to a student, either through people or through the bottom of the analytics, click on their name on the top, go to Access Report, and this will at least show you a little bit more data of, when they logged on, what they did. So, it'll even tell you if they watched a video, but it's not going to tell you how much of it they watched. It'll just say they watched, or they at least started it.
Okay, and just so I'm clear, the participated will be specifically to something they have to do, like answer a quiz or do a discussion question or some, for lack of a better word, some assignment.
Yeah. So if they do some collaboration, if they join a web conference, if you use Virtual Classroom, if they add a comment to a discussion board, if they modify a page, because you could set the pages so that they're editable by the students. If they modify a page, if they submit an assignment or a quiz, or if they start a quiz, those all count as participation.
Okay.
Anything else is they're just viewing.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Sure. Any other questions?